but we're talking about celebrating Martin Luther King's legacy and birthday. This is the story of how the U.S. government has gone out of their way to destroy him and his legacy, and you will learn a couple of facts that you will find surprising. So we're going to take this chronologically. We're going to go back in time to 1963. August of 1963 was the year of the I Have a Dream speech, the very famous, most famous speech of his career. Only a couple months later, JFK was shot and assassinated in Dallas. Are those things related? Maybe they are. Let's get into it. 1 year later, November 21st, 1964. Okay, minus 1 day, almost a year later to the day, King received a very famous package in the mail, the so-called King suicide letter. Now, what this was a cassette tape of King's own voice recorded and a letter sent from an anonymous sender. The cassette tape was actually the result of the FBI having illegally wiretapped King over the last couple of years, edited those conversations together into a tape that supposedly would discredit King as an adulterer, as a unfaithful husband to his wife, Coretta. So that cassette tape plus a letter urging King, your career is over, you're a fraud, you're a hypocrite, you're no good, you're not worthy. All you can do now, we will release this tape to the media unless you end it now. You have 30 days or whatever to end it. Now, what did the sender of the letter mean by end it? Well, King interpreted it to mean I have to commit suicide. So that's why it's called the suicide letter. You could argue that it just meant end your career as a civil rights activist, or he was about to pick up the Nobel Peace Prize, by the way. Maybe it meant don't accept the Nobel Peace Prize. Why would anyone do that? Why would you just say, nah, I don't want it? There's no conceivable reason to do that. We do know that the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover especially, hated King with a passion, and they went out of their way, even illegally, to attempt to destroy him. J. Edgar Hoover had said, not too earlier than this, he said that King was the most notorious liar in the world. He probably said all kinds of other terrible things about him. But in 1964, King received the suicide letter and the tape with a blackmail threat that they would release it to the public and King should end it, whatever that meant, maybe commit suicide. Okay, King didn't end it, he didn't commit suicide, but a couple years later, you know what happened. April 4th, 1968, King was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, and just 2 months later, Robert Kennedy was assassinated in Los Angeles. He had just won the California primary and was probably on his way to becoming president. Both gentlemen killed just a few months apart. And the theory at the time was that a lone gunman named James Earl Ray had assassinated Martin Luther King. Is that true? We'll get to some speculations on that topic. Okay, that was 1968. 15 months later, 1969, July, the most famous event in human history took place. That was the Apollo astronauts walking on the moon. Everybody on the planet who had access to a TV watched it, except, of course, the King family, because supposedly King's younger brother, A.D. King, was found drowned in a swimming pool. Now, King's younger brother, A.D., as he was called, was also a pastor. He was also trying to carry on Martin's legacy, continue with the civil rights activism and so forth, but he was found dead on a day when apparently he was the only person in North America who wasn't watching the Apollo astronaut. Convenient timing. Some people believe, yes, he drowned, or he had a heart condition, he had a heart attack. Some people believe that there was foul play, but that hasn't really been researched too intently, so I would say the jury's out on that, but conventional wisdom is he drowned in a swimming pool. Okay, that was 1969. Let's fast forward to March of 1971. A group of young people called the Citizens Committee to Investigate the FBI broke into an FBI office in Pennsylvania and stole every file they could find. And one of the files that they found was something concerning this program that J. Edgar Hoover had launched against King in 1964. The origin of the so-called suicide letter and the tape, the mixtape of the illegal wiretapping. There was a program that was unknown to the public at the time called COINTELPRO. And that was the FBI's program to basically infiltrate and screw with and mess up any civil rights organization, any peace activists, any left-wing communists, but anybody that J. Edgar Hoover hated on the political spectrum, not individual senators and stuff, but activist groups primarily. COINTELPRO was the name of the unknown, classified, and illegal program that the FBI was using. So that burglary of the FBI office was in March of 1971. It happened to be planned for the day of one of the most famous events in sports history. That was the famous Ali Frazier fight. So the burglars timed the break-in specifically to coincide with the day when they knew that the security guards would be glued to that television and they weren't paying attention to maybe some noises coming from the back room where the guys were breaking in. But that's eerily similar to the cover that occurred when A.D. King died, wasn't it? Big news event on TV when you know no one's paying attention. That's just a little coincidence that I noticed. Okay, that was 1971. COINTELPRO was revealed. And for more information on that, you might want to check out the movie, the documentary that came out a few years ago, MLK/FBI, that kind of goes over this whole thing about the FBI's program to destroy King. Another movie came out a couple years later, Judas and the Black Messiah, specifically about how the FBI and local police in the COINTEL program assassinated Black Panther leader Fred Hampton. They just burst into his apartment one morning and started blasting away, killing him. Subject of an Oscar-nominated movie, Judas and the Black Messiah. Okay, 1971, we had the break-in. Let's fast forward to 1977. Martin Luther King's entire family, not entire, but many people in his family were deeply involved in the church, deeply involved in civil rights, activism, different organizations. His mother, Alberta King, happened to be the organist at the local church in Atlanta. And in June of 1977, a 23-year-old from Ohio named Marcus Chenault jumped on a bus in Ohio with a few guns, took the bus to Atlanta, showed up in church on a Sunday morning, and from the pews, that's weird, pew, he started shooting, and he shot Martin Luther King's mother in the head, killing her. He actually shot 3 people, 2 dead, 1 survived. So 3 people in King's family died under violent or unusual circumstances. Some people think these last 2 deaths need to be examined a little more closely. Now let's fast forward to 1999. 1999, Coretta Scott King filed a lawsuit against a gentleman named Lloyd Jowers, an alleged white supremacist. She filed a civil lawsuit for wrongful death against him and other unnamed conspirators. And she and her legal team brought forth some 70 witnesses over 4 weeks, all charging that local police and other government organizations conspired to have Martin Luther King murdered. It wasn't James Earl Ray. She and her family had forgiven James Earl Ray. And James Earl Ray, who confessed initially, was given very bad legal counsel. He recanted his confession not long after. But 70 witnesses testified that there was, in fact, a government conspiracy. And the jury took almost no time in agreeing, awarding her a win in the civil case. And then after the case, Coretta Scott King, I don't have the exact quote, but she said, okay, this is what we've been trying to tell you guys for a long time, that the U.S. government, state government, and police conspired to kill my husband. Now that it's all been revealed, I'm sure you, as the media, will want to tell everybody in the world this is what happened, that the government killed Martin Luther King. And of course, the media said, no thanks, we're not interested. Now, looking back at all the great assassinations we had in the 60s and 70s, many of these people were peace activists. JFK did not want to pursue the Vietnam War. As soon as he died, LBJ reversed the executive order and started escalating the war. RFK did not want the war. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. There's evidence that some or most of these people were killed by some people involved in a certain government. I'll leave it at that. But that is my video description of Martin Luther King, celebrating him, but also you should learn the truth about to what ends your government will go to destroy somebody that disagrees with your narrative. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching.